Today, I'd like to share with you a new article I have out with the Georgia Law Review called Privately Policing Dark Patterns. Dark patterns is actually a term I hadn't heard until fairly recently, but as soon as I describe it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And so imagine you're at a website, for instance, and you're checking out, and you see at the bottom corner of a screen there's this checkbox, and it says, "Yes, please do send me daily emails reminding me of every little sale you have to make sure I don't miss a thing." And you see this and you're thinking, why in the world is this the default option? Why is this what everyone wants? And this is a perfect example of what has come to be known as a dark pattern. It's something, some aspect of the user interface design that is designed to press users toward a choice that's probably not what they really want, and in the best interest instead of the entity, the website or app that has created this choice structure. And you see these all over. One that gets me every time I log into my Yahoo Music account, I get a notification. It says, "Would you like to upgrade to premium? Only X dollars per month." And I always think, no, I don't want that. Please don't ask me. But there is no option that says, please don't ask me anymore. Just every month, or I'm sorry, every session that I log in, it asks me again. And you similarly get kind of embarrassing choices or guilt choices that say, yes, opt me in, or no thanks, I don't like saving money. All these sorts of interface designs to try to get you to do something that you otherwise wouldn't want to have come to be called dark patterns. And there's been a lot of talk in the news media and also in Congress about whether something should be done about this, about whether it's time to take some sort of legislative or regulatory action to combat these. And I want to start off by saying I don't think all of these should be illegal. These are, by and large, harmless and self-policing. When I see something like this, I say no, and I say no again. And if it bothers me enough, I just stop using the app or the website altogether. I say this is too much of a hassle, and so I'm not going to do this anymore. And that happened to me, for instance, with the email program Yahoo Mail. For some period of time, I don't think they do it anymore, but for some period of time, they made me wait 5 or 10 seconds it was before I could check my mail unless I upgraded to this premium service. And that's a perfect example. It was bothersome. It irritated me enough. I actually stopped using the program, but I don't think it should be illegal. If the company wants to design its system that way, it's entitled to do so. But where this can actually become such a problem that I think something should be done is where you have people that are tricked into transactions. And so maybe you have an interface that's so confusing to navigate that people are actually making choices other than what they meant to choose. Situations like that, or maybe there's even an outright lie rather than kind of confusion that's causing it. Those sorts of situations can be a real problem. And the FTC has been pursuing that. The FTC has authority to police unfair and deceptive trade practices, and this seems to be exactly the sort of thing that the FTC would be appropriately situated to handle. And yet, despite holding various conferences, collecting scholars and researchers to talk about it, despite issuing guidance, this is really still widespread on the internet and actually very effective. So I saw some recent research on this that found between 10 and 40% of shopping websites online have this sort of thing that can press users toward questionable transactions. And not only widespread, but quite effective. And so in an experimental study published in the Journal of Legal Analysis, there was on offer a very questionable credit monitoring service that on careful inspection was not a good deal at all. And yet something like doubling or double or quadruple the number of people in the control group selected this when they were presented with some sort of dark pattern pressuring them toward this questionable transaction. And the question that I ask in this paper, Privately Policing Dark Patterns, is, well, why is this? Why, if the FTC has been looking into this and focusing a good deal of its attention on this new phenomenon of dark patterns? Why is it that they're still effective and still very much out there pressuring consumers? And the paper identifies three features, I guess, of the structures currently in place that have made it difficult to act on these dark patterns. One is you just think about how difficult it is to define what a dark pattern is. You could say, you could say a few things are clearly dark patterns. Outright lying is one, or mislabeling buttons. You see this sometimes where an X button in the corner of a window will, instead of closing the window, as everyone would think, it actually redirects you to continue the transaction. Those are very obvious. But if you get closer to the border and try to say, try to define everything that's a dark pattern, you're going to have trouble. You're going to end up saying something like, well, it's okay to be convincing, but don't be too tricky. And that is not a useful definition to businesses. It's difficult to act on that sort of a definition. And so if the FTC issues guidance like that, that says, avoid creating a confusing choice environment for consumers, that's going to be difficult for regulated entities to act upon. Another limitation in current legal structures that I believe has made it difficult to enforce prohibitions on dark patterns is just the extremely limited resources that the FTC has to bring to bear on this problem. They only have so many attorneys. They only have so big of a budget. And they've got lots of problems to police. It's not just dark patterns out there. In 2022, the FTC brought only 200 actions across all of its unfair and deceptive trade practices jurisdiction, and 200, you can imagine 200 enforcement actions. That's not going to be enough to combat anyone except the very biggest players, people like Amazon you think of, you've seen in the news lately. And so this limit on resources has been another major hurdle. And lastly, the last bit that I identify in the paper is just the difficulty of collecting information on the abuses that are out there. If you're in the FTC's shoes, what do you have to do? You have to poll the public and say, tell us about what you're experiencing. Then you have to review all of that data you collect and try to identify what is truly wrongful versus a disgruntled customer that hasn't actually been wronged under current rules. And then act on it. The process of collecting that information, assembling it, reviewing it, and then acting is a major obstacle to enforcement as well. And what this paper does is it first of all discusses those problems, the problem of defining dark patterns and then of given limited resources acting on them. And it proposes, in the end, it proposes maybe we should start thinking about potential private law or private enforcement mechanisms, where members of the public, much like robocalling statutes have done, much like sex discrimination statutes have done, enable members of the public to say, I've been wronged, I know that I have, you don't need to collect information on that, and allow them to pursue their own claims against entities, to amp up the enforcement potential of the FTC. And this approach has a few benefits that directly correlate with some of the limitations I was just describing. One is if you're policing this through private enforcement under a very general common law definition or a general statutory definition, you don't have to define up front what exactly the dark patterns are, what exactly a dark pattern that's too tricky is. Instead, what you can do is over time, the law can evolve. A judge can say, this interface is okay, whereas this one is too tricky. And so there should be some liability attached. And you shift the definitional stage from upfront via regulation or statute to the back end and allow judges to do it after the fact. And so you have a much more flexible definition that can respond to new tech, new dark patterns, and also respond to just the infinite ingenuity that humans have when they're setting out to catch a customer. And the other natural advantage of a private regime, private enforcement regime, is the resources. You don't have to have everything be publicly funded by the FTC. You can instead have private resources brought to bear, people hiring their own attorneys to come in and correct the wrongs that they've seen done to them. Now, as you'll see, I hope I don't over talk the paper. I don't have all of the answers, but I begin to sketch out some ideas that I think can move forward on this, and I very much hope you'll enjoy it.